Welcome to the show, everybody. Thank you for downloading. My name is Pete Wright, and I'm here with Dane Christensen.
Hello.
And Megan Strand.
Hello.
And we are the Naked Marketers, and we have an awesome, awesome show cooked up, all devised for you today. It is so awesome, in fact, because we have our guest today is somebody who works for a company. I'm a fan of this company. I don't just use the product. I'm a fan.
Me too.
I'm a cold sweat, breaking out in the cold sweat. You know, I'm shuddering at the door of the concert kind of a fan of this company. We have Andrew Sinkov from who's the director of marketing, VP of marketing, or Grand Poobah of marketing.
I think I like Grand Poobah.
Grand Poobah of marketing for Evernote is going to join us to talk about the tool and marketing the tool and staying one step ahead of the hungry masses like me, standing outside in the cold waiting for that next update of Evernote. Fantastic tool. Very excited to have Andrew on the show. You know, I have an update for you both.
Yeah?
And I am much chagrined to say this, that we did not celebrate last week. We didn't have a mini celebration. Do you know why we should have celebrated?
Cinco de Mayo?
No,
that's this week.
That's today.
Is this silly joke
it's not a joke. We celebrated.
LinkedIn turned 7.
No, we turned 10.
Oh, we turned 10 episodes.
It was our 10th episode. That's a milestone, right? It's like our 10th anniversary.
10th anniversary.
10th episode anniversary.
That's good.
That is a celebration.
Well done, you guys. This was
bravo.
10 episodes. Now let's hang it up. What do we have to talk about this week? We have news.
We do have news.
Where should we begin?
We had to cut down the news.
We did. There was a lot of news. Go ahead.
Well, I'll start out because I like this story and don't like it at the same time. So Ellen DeGeneres, with her lovely show, came onto her show this week, I believe, and admitted that she got in trouble from Apple because she did a parody on the iPhone about ease of use. But, being the funny woman that she is, it's the point is that it was just funny because it wasn't really that easy for her to use. She kept sending all these funny little texts to Portia, and Portia's texting back like, what? And she's opening the map instead of the texting. And it was just funny. So Apple apparently slapped her on the wrist. I don't know who contacted her, but they said they thought she made it look hard to use. And so she came onto her show and she showed the commercial again. And then she said, I just have to say that I'm sorry. I really like the iPhone and the iPad and iHop. And she was funny. But, it was a funny commercial to begin with. So I guess I just don't feel really good about the fact that she's apologizing for it because that's what she does. She's a comedian. So
she is. She's a satirist, and I think that's. I thought the ad was.
It was.
I thought it was funny. It was clever, and so did her audience. Everybody thought it was funny. Well, everybody in the audience seemed to be really enjoying it. It was clever. You're right on. It's what she does. I don't like the fact that Apple goes after these kinds of satirical pieces there. At the same time. Yeah. What we think is that they went after Ellen because she made it look like it was hard to use. I bet they went after Ellen for other reasons. They're, sort of notorious at protecting their, use of their intellectual property and the logos and the trademarks and it's interesting that she was actually allowed to run the ad again on the air on her show. But I'll bet there's more to it than just you make it look hard to use because there are lots of people making ads that make fun of Apple. She was doing it on a much bigger stage, but, Letterman's done it. She's not alone. I think they're vigorously protecting what they have to protect. And, if they don't do this, then they stand a chance of losing it down the road. And I think that's the kind of the rule of thumb. If you don't protect what the ownership of your intellectual property and your copyright and trademarks, then you stand a chance of losing them.
Yeah, and it's something I'm having to constantly do with Strike 10 Media.
Yeah, because of people.
Because people try to steal your logo
they try to
and
steal
URL
your
all
stuff.
the time.
There's a little league team down the street that I'm like, what?
Yeah,
I'm
please.
paying for those uniforms.
Take those little dust monkeys to
I was
court,
running
Dane.
around. Yeah, yelling at the
Little
coaches.
league team.
So
Get counsel involved.
I've been there with Apple, you know.
Yeah. You feel their
right.
pain.
Yeah, this is the conversation we're having. How Dane and Apple are, in fact, in the same boat. That's right. That's a great comparison.
So that was not a huge story, but it was interesting. I thought it was funny, too. So moving on.
Google gets a new homepage look. They've prettied it up. What do you think? Is
anybody seeing this, though, when you go to google.com?
It's the search results, right?
Well, it's also the homepage, too.
Well, the homepage has been this. They went. It was a while ago. They went with the we're going to be stark and sparse look, where they got rid of all the menus. If you don't move your mouse, all you see is the logo, the search box, and the buttons. Mm-hmm. I'm feeling lucky in Google search. If you move your mouse, it all fades in, and you get to see other stuff. Now, I'm going to search for the Naked Marketers.
So funny. That's exactly what I'm doing. See, it doesn't pop up on mine yet. That's why.
I don't get it either. I don't get it either. And
well, anyway, we'll tell people what it's supposed to be.
Well, what it's supposed to be is they've just streamlined the search results page, so you get a little bit cleaner, a little bit more modern layout for your search results. The idea behind it is that you make it more that it exposes the content you're looking for more apparently. You can jump to the different categories from images, videos, news. Font's a little bigger. The logo's a little brighter. Apparently, they brightened the logo.
And they took some of the drop shadow out, and they took the TM out. And
Right. And see, in the version I'm looking at, the TM's still there, drop shadow's still there. It's a little bit blurry. So, those changes are coming, but and should be rolled out. I think this week is what I heard. But more and more people are going to start seeing these things. Cool. In a related story, Yahoo, uncomfortable stepchild at the funeral, sitting on the piano bench in a corner
with the dunce cap on,
virgin daiquiri. They have spent a lot of money on this new ad campaign, and I just love Gizmodo's headline: Yahoo bitch slaps Google with an $85 million ad campaign. It's really priceless, and I think it's exactly what the message Yahoo probably needs to get out right now. Mm-hmm. What do you guys think of the ad? Have you both watched it?
That they're still there? Is that what you mean?
Right. First and foremost, Yahoo still exists. Hello.
We're here.
We
may be in the corner with our little daiquiri, but we're here.
Welcome to Yahoo. We're still here. Everybody, hello. Yahoo.
Sorry. Okay, so the commercial I think is good. Yeah. I think it's good. I don't know that the product stands behind the commercial, but
okay. Problem number one.
When I went to Yahoo, I can make the whole page pink. But
which is awesome.
Wow.
Which is very awesome.
Right.
I'm going to do that.
The point is that you can customize it. That some people think that search should just be a blank script to take you somewhere else. We think that your homepage should be who you are and express yourself and give you everything you need all at once, which sounds great. But then I think you go to Yahoo and your customization is highly limited, and I don't know. I think product falls a little bit short, but I do think the ad campaign. I think the ad is good.
I think the message is right. I think the message is right for Yahoo because they do have. I mean, Yahoo has a portfolio, a catalog of content that it's really difficult to find, and you don't associate some of the great sites that you view with Yahoo. I mean, you don't associate Flickr as a Yahoo branded company. Flickr sort of stands on its own. Right. And you go to Flickr and you see that it's a Yahoo company, but you don't really remember it. Flickr really is where you go. And so I think this message is look at all that Yahoo has. Look at this whole catalog of Yahoo stuff. Mm-hmm. That's what the campaign says to me. Then when you go to the website, it's giving me links to Facebook and links to, other sites that are not Yahoo sites. So, I think in that respect, you're kind of right. Like, I'm not sure that the product gets out of the way enough of the ad campaign, and it's still really cluttered. Like, it is
very cluttered.
I suppose there are people these are the people who want to use Yahoo, and God love them. They're the people who, when they got their 15th AOL install disk in the mail, they went and installed it because they wanted to have that space. They wanted to go to one place on the interweb. It was just be in that space, in that comfortable warm blanket of advertising driven portalism. And that's what Yahoo is. And that's the message they're trying to get out with this $85 million thing. I still like the Google. I'm happier with the Google.
Was that in the DSM-5?
Yes, the warm blanket of advertising-based portalism.
Right. I know it sounds
in the DSM-5. It was
sounds
not
like a psychiatric condition.
It was,
well, and that's why we like Google, because we all have this DSM related condition.
That's the Googleism. The Googleism.
Well, the Googleism is this like calm. It just makes you feel calm, like your life is clean and organized when you look at the Google page.
It's more of an aesthetic too, so that you don't feel what you're giving up when you sign into Google.
That's right. Well, I have to say that I'm glad they're removing the drop shadow, because it's really starting to bother me now. It very much clutters the logo.
Well, and that's the ad, that's Yahoo's next ad is, look, we never had a drop shadow. Oh, good Lord.
Okay.
All right. What else?
This is really pretty how you get Google and it's blank, and then you move your mouse and wow.
You should also try, you should go to AOL.com, because the customization is it's sort of customization of the absurd.
Yeah. Speaking of places I haven't been in 20 years.
Yeah. Their new logo treatment it's been around for a while, I guess 6 months or so, but now you can choose the theme, and it's either a bright carnation or some alien cartoon characters, or
maybe we should cornify it.
But you can't. Right. That'd be nice. But you can't go all pink like you can on Yahoo. I'm so excited to go all pink.
But you can go goldfish. I switched to goldfish, and there's this goldfish that's looking at me with this giant dead eye.
Oh, yeah. Look at that.
It's really unnerving.
It's like a Twitter page.
Yeah.
That's weird.
It's bizarre.
Where's the goldfish? Oh, there he is. Yeah, that's weird.
Splashing paint. Anyway.
Okay, moving on. We're getting a little ADD here, speaking of which. Let's talk about your favorite subject, Peter. Flash.
Oh, okay. So Steve Jobs decided to post to his blog again, and this time it was thoughts on Flash. The general discussion about Flash in the development and advertising community has grown to a bit of a fever pitch as the iPad, Apple announced the iPad sold 1 million units in the first the first month. It took 74 days for iPhone 1 to hit 1 million units. I think the iPhone 3GS was much faster, but I'm not sure that that's a terribly compelling data point, since the iPad was sort of a known quantity, at least when compared to usability. People saw it; they saw it as a big iPod Touch. You kind of know what you're going to get when you go play with it. So anyway, they sold a lot of them, and Flash isn't built in, and so the developer community was sort of, at least the Flash developer community, people whose livelihoods, agencies who are built around Flash, are up in arms, because they're saying, "Wow, what are we going to do? We need to. Apple is not allowing Flash; they're evil." So Steve Jobs posts his latest missive to the blog, and he really outlines, I think, a very compelling case as to why Flash doesn't stand up to the modern touch-based operating system, and why he doesn't allow it. And first and foremost, it's buggy and crashy. It doesn't actually run on a mobile platform yet. Adobe keeps saying it's going to come out. There are proofs of concept. There are betas supposedly in the wild. Lots of videos. The latest video I saw yesterday was a guy who was demoing a Flash-based or a tablet with Flash on it, and he said, "Boy, I'm sure glad I didn't buy an iPad, because this one has Flash." And as he says, "This one has Flash," the browser crashes in the demo.
That was an Android-based.
Right, Android-based with Flash running. He was showing YouTube running in Flash, and it was terrible. Now, on the other hand, Google released or Adobe released some great demos of Flash running on another Droid phone, and it runs. The performance is great. Again, it's not in the wild. You can't go download Flash right now for your mobile device, which is so. Some of this is a bit moot. In the meantime, while there is this huge void in the market, major publishers are switching out of Flash and moving into HTML5, which is the new standard moving forward. And I think Jobs' point of, Flash was designed to fill a specific need for many years in a mouse and PC and keyboard-based world. And now we are moving to a touch-based world, and we haven't seen the innovation from Adobe beyond the political wrangling and getting people all worked up. to actually develop a Flash tool that works. I really believe if Adobe came to the table and said, we're going to change our strategy, we're going to get Flash running, it's going to work, it's going to be lightweight, it's not going to crash, it's going to work on mobile platforms across the board, it's going to be a great platform for development. It would be more interesting for content producers. In the meantime, I'm on my iPad, I'm on my iPhone, and I have not run into the sites that that are supposedly supposed to give me all the trouble. Well, I don't need Flash. Why do I need Flash? I haven't missed it. So that's the thoughts on Flash. Apple.com, hot news / thoughts on Flash. It's an interesting read. If you haven't read, it's been out for I think over a week now, but it really is worth reading if you're a content producer and you still think that you should be developing your headers for your website, anything in Flash. You should really just go back and think, can I do this in HTML5? Can I do this in an open, a web-based standard where people don't, where it doesn't rely on a plugin to play this content? It was interesting. Speaking of the Yahoo thing, it has the recommended for you section down at the bottom of the left column, and one of them was an ad for University of Phoenix, and I clicked on it, and I have a Flash blocker installed to kind of show me where I'm missing Flash on the web, and it speeds up my page loads and makes the web a little bit faster when Flash doesn't load immediately. And the entire landing page is Flash. I couldn't see it. Like, it shows up with a giant square block of gray, and I just click away. Like, I'm not even going to bother with it. If it's not something that I can read, that I have to wait for some stupid animation, I'm not going to watch it.
Well, I think, Peter, your point is that it's almost like a moot point at this, at the stage of the game, because it's like Steve Jobs comes out and is like, yeah, we're done with Flash, and either get on board or get out of the way. We're moving on. And I think that was when we originally talked about this story, that was your point. And I think it's really true. It's kind of, Flash is kind of digging and scrambling and scratching to kind of keep their head up instead of innovating. Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens to Flash.
Yeah. And there's got to be something. It seems to me that maybe we're missing something. I guess. Like I don't know. It's probably true that Steve Jobs is just being very straightforward and saying that exactly what Pete said, that Flash just was built for a different technical environment, and it just doesn't work. And so it's not political. It's not don't take it personally. It just isn't the best solution. Maybe though there's something we're missing that is political. I don't know.
Well, that
blog
actually
post
came
from
out.
Adobe.
That actually came out in the new terms, and I think we talked about this, where you can't use a cross compiler to, another language to build apps for the iPhone. Well, that takes Adobe out, and it kind of leads into the next story, which is Adobe Creative Suite 5, which is now in the wild and shipping, and you can go download a full 3.5 gigabyte disk image of it and install it, which includes tools directly out of Flash, so you can build a game or an app in Flash and recompile it to run on your iPhone or your Android or whatever. Well, that was a big tool, and Adobe put a lot of money into it, and immediately on launch of CS5, Apple changes terms of service, and now you can't install those apps that were created in Flash on the iPad. Well, that's smarts. There's no way. That's a kick in the groin is what that is. And I think, people in the Adobe community were rightfully upset. But I do want to say, I have been playing with CS5 this week, and it is magical. I mean, it is really great. If you take Flash out of the equation, the tools that they have shipped this time are an order of magnitude more awesome than CS4. And I was talking to a friend who was still on CS3, and she doesn't make those upgrades, lightly. And CS3 was a great product. CS4 was kind of an evolutionary, release. CS5 is another one of those really terrific products. It sets a new standard for creative work, and it is, I think, really great to move workflow towards CS5. So
kind of makes me want to go take some graphic designing classes.
Yeah, well, and even to the point of updates to just the web design tools, Dreamweaver being able to work with with linked sites, so you can develop like WordPress themes inside of Dreamweaver is really terrific.
Oh, really?
CSS handling is really terrific, and that's what what gets to the Steve Jobs point in his post was, look, Adobe has the bandwidth and the talent to create some incredible HTML5 development environment tools. Get over Flash and go work on these tools. And I tweeted about that. It was like just the fact that Steve Jobs said it out loud. I mean, Adobe was probably going down that road anyway. It only makes sense. But just the fact that Steve Jobs said it, now they're going to be bitter. Now they're going to be like, God, yeah, we were going to do it anyway, Steve, you dolt. Anyway, that's what I had.
That's a stunning array of news for the day.
That was a stunning array of news. We do have an interview coming up, and we should talk about this guy.
I'm trying to limit my retardation, by the way. That's part of what I'm trying to do is just not talk when otherwise what I would say would have to be edited out. So I'd be really careful.
That never happens.
That's an incredible amount of restraint that you're showing there.
I'm trying.
That's fantastic.
I'm holding mute sometimes.
Because sometimes your mouth just starts.
Yeah, and you guys can't hear the thing that you would otherwise have to edit out. So,
funny day.
I'm working on this.
Oh, what a condition! All right, so we do have this interview. We're going to bring in our new best friend, Andrew Sinkov, Grand Poobah of Marketing from Evernote. Shall we begin?
Absolutely.
We shall begin.
Let's begin now.
We are so honored to be graced by our next guest's presence, Andrew Sinkov, who is the director of marketing. Andrew, is that right?
Or VP, but director's fine. It's all good.
VP. We've been calling you the Grand Poobah of marketing.
I just call myself super marketer, actually.
Super marketer. There you go. You get to wear the tight shirts if you say that.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We're excited to talk about your work and about Evernote as the tool and all the great things that are happening with Evernote and the Evernote community. And so I thought we would start off if you could just give us a little bit of a rundown of what Evernote is for the uninitiated.
Sure. So Evernote is a way that people can remember things. We had this idea that we wanted to build kind of an external brain for people. And the way that we did that was we said, every day you see and experience and think of exciting things. And what we want to help you do is to reach out your hand, grab the nearest computer, phone, whatever, and capture it. And then know that that's safe and sound in Evernote. And then years or days, weeks, whatever, amount of time later, reach your hand out and grab whatever phone or computer you have at that point, and Evernote's going to be there, and it's going to help you find that memory instantly.
It is a terrific tool, and a lot of folks have rallied behind it. We have news.
Yeah, lots of news. Yeah, you guys have been making big news. So congratulations that we just heard that you won 2 Webby Awards, not one, but 2 Webby Awards.
Thank you.
It's very exciting. And the other thing that we were made aware of is that you just hit your 3 millionth user. That is just unbelievable. And just reading this great blog post about how quickly you guys did this is just so incredibly impressive. And I remember I heard you speak at Social Fresh, which is where you and I first met. And I remember one of the things I wrote down that struck me. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that has to do with gaining 3 million users in record time. One of the things that struck me is that you said over the past 2 years, you haven't paid for a single user. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how you've been able to leverage your community and partnerships to grow your business so quickly to such a great record amount of users.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. We have this amazing user community that's grown ridiculously fast. For a product that at its core is not a social product, we are not a product that's focused on your friends or anything else really. We are directly focused on the individual and the things that are in their heads. And I think that what happened was we came along at just the perfect time when this solution was really, really needed. We all kind of realized that we've got this overloaded life of so much information, so much digital and analog content that's coming at us every moment. And what we started doing kind of from the outset was really focused on community, on social, on on developing really meaningful and decent content. So, having a blog that we were constantly updating with interesting things, doing lots of videos, doing lots of things to educate the community, to get them excited about the product, reaching out to them, talking to them, and having that be the case kind of across the entire organization, from marketing to engineering. And also doing a lot of PR work. So really focused on getting the word out about something that at its core is actually something that's really new. People have really wanted to, use different tools to remember things over the centuries and millennia that humans have been around. And it seems like right now we're at this amazing time when people are starting to view technology as almost an appendage. And Evernote just kind of fits into this of really helping you use what you have close at hand to remember everything. Well, it's pretty cool.
I want to ask you about that decision, though, to go social and work on building the community, because you said things that to me are like high jump, low ceiling. And I think for a lot of marketers, if you have a product that is not a directly a social tool, a tool that is not directly focused on relationships, it is a non-intuitive leap to say that we're going to build a social community around that tool in order to drive our marketing efforts. I wonder if you could talk a little bit more detail about how you came to that decision that you guys and the executive team at Evernote were going to go that route.
It's an interesting thing, because for us, we knew that because we realized that there was this need, right? So we realized that we at basically at any age, and the company has we have from relatively right out of college to people in their 60s, and everybody needed this product. So we realized that the issue that we were going to face was, how do we tell people that we're out there, and how do we make them feel comfortable using a new piece of software that or a new service that has just been launched, that's saying that you're going to store, memories, that you're going to store very personal content. And what we needed to do was, from the outset, and this is how we built our identity, this is how we built our brand, was we are a solid company. We are there for you. We're here to help you. And the only way that we realized we could achieve that was to talk to people, was to tell them about it, was to make them engaged with this new brand that had just popped out of nowhere, and so luckily right now it's amazingly accessible. People are very accessible to a company and to a brand, especially one that they like. They love to participate, they love to talk, they love to engage. And so we were right from the outset, we said we have a product that we lovingly say is antisocial, and we are going to be the company that creates a product that is not social at its core, but has a real connection to the community that uses it.
I guess I really like that approach. And one of the things that I enjoyed kind of looking through the website, looking through the blog, the thing that jumps out at me that I guess for a lot of products you wouldn't think they would do, or would be a natural way to think about selling the product, but to come up with uses for the product. And it's honestly the thing that I get the most out of reading through that blog, or here's how you can use Evernote when you're house hunting, or like just people, whether it's a user or someone in the company, coming up with different uses for it. All of a sudden I start to engage with some sort of vision on how this product can have meaning to me.
Right. And that's the most challenging and exciting thing about Evernote. So we are fairly unstructured, and so as a result, people use it in all sorts of ways, and they mix their personal lives with their work lives in Evernote. We had personally for me, I love Evernote for cooking. I cook a lot, and I put a lot of recipes in there, and one of the things that we talk about a lot are cooking use cases. We had a whole month devoted to various cooking use cases. We talked to restaurateurs, to chefs, to food bloggers, and how they were using Evernote. And then we got someone sent us an email and said, you guys are always talking about cooking, but I'm a baker. How is this good for me? And
it's not.
No, it's not. Only cooking.
Yeah, exactly. It's just this crazy moment of like, oh my God, we have to do this even better.
We have to hold lots of hands.
Yeah.
But that's the fun part, is that we all love this product, and we're really into telling people how to use it. We spent a day at a dairy farm There's a video on our blog about a trip that I took to a dairy farm, where the dairy farmer uses Evernote to keep track of all his cows and maintenance needs and all that.
I saw that. How did you find that guy?
He's on Twitter. He's he's an incredibly popular agricultural Twitter user.
Okay.
Wow.
Interesting.
And he tweeted at us and said, "I use it for this," and we jumped all over that.
Oh yeah.
That's so cool.
Well, how about I was blown away beyond measure about the traumatic brain injury blog post. I mean, that was unbelievable. Here's a guy who literally cannot rely on his own memory, so he's using Evernote as his memory. I mean, could there be a better poster child for Evernote? I mean, it's got to make you feel incredibly good that you're helping this guy so much, and B, really, in living color, this guy is using Evernote as his memory. I mean, literally, quite literally. So I was just blown away by that. And anybody listening to this podcast should read that posting, because it is just unbelievable and very cool.
Just an amazing story. This person, Patrick Jones, out of Colorado, who's had a bunch of concussions over the course of his life, and now has traumatic brain injury, which means that he has terrible short-term memory, and he began using Evernote as his brain, basically, to help him remember things that he needs to do. We came up with this 2-word slogan for the company of Evernote, remember everything, and that was very tongue-in-cheek. That was sort of we were kind of joking around when we said that, and then we met Patrick, and we realized that, holy crap, this is for real. We are actually helping someone remember everything, and it's an amazing story. It's just absolutely amazing.
Could you talk a little bit about your day-to-day? I'm in researching for this interview. I'm browsing the support forums and conversations on the Evernote website, and I'm fascinated by the volume of support response that you handle personally. And so it on one hand, I wonder, how do you do it all to run the marketing arm of this and be so personally engaged with your customers at the level of engagement that you are? And it makes me reflect a little bit on the changing tide of kind of the modern startup marketer. I wonder if you could reflect a little bit on how that works for you.
Sure. Well, a lot of credit goes to our engineering team and our support team, because one thing that I think makes Evernote interesting, or I don't know if it's unique, but it's certainly interesting, and it's certainly a great environment to work in, is that we're a small company and all the departments here are really close. And so, for example, Twitter has been a great way for us to learn about issues, and a lot of companies deal with this. We don't have a Twitter support account specifically, but I handle at Evernote on Twitter, and we'll learn from Twitter that there's a new bug or something that we didn't know about, and it's actually going to come through Twitter faster than through other sources. And so I just walk over to our CTO and I talk to him about it, and he says, yeah, we've been seeing some reports about this, which then I go back and write a blog post, or I'll comment on the blog about it. Marketing at Evernote, and I think this is definitely the case, for a lot of companies these days, is you're playing the role of the helper for so many people. You're the educator, you're the helper. You're not just the person that's saying go out and use my product. You're the person that's holding hands, that's making sure that people understand the value of the product and also what's happening at that moment. And what's happening at a given moment at a startup is that there's good news and sometimes there's bad news, and you have to make sure people are aware of it. And so you have to have, I think, we have, I should say, just a really great connection between the various departments here, so that it's easy for me to answer a question. I feel like I have the knowledge necessary to answer a question when one comes up, so I don't have to wait. I see a question come in, I can just answer it. It takes no time, versus having to go to the engineers, asking them what the problem is, hoping that they're the ones that are going to respond through some sort of a support or a forum or support request. It really makes it a lot easier, and I just think it's really important.
Well, it is, that level of sort of connectivity and engagement is something that it seems like a real luxury as a VP marketing, to be able to kind of be that far into the trenches. Where did you come from before Evernote? Have you always been a startup guy?
Well, I guess I was. My last company, I was running marketing at a startup out of Cambridge, Mass. That was doing really, really deep business to government cryptography stuff, where like in the whole world there were maybe 10 people that actually cared about what this company did.
Well, at least you know your market really well.
Yeah, we met all of them
personally.
Yeah, and a lot of them worked at agencies that didn't exist. And it was that was a very different, to say the least, experience. But it definitely gets you. One of the things that's really important in a company like Evernote is, especially since we're dealing with people's memories and things that people hold dear, having a strong understanding of security and the importance of security was definitely a big part of the way that we communicate the product here. But I have to say that the experience there was vastly, vastly different. So I do come from a startup background, certainly. But I'm sort of this. I feel like we built this product for people like me, and not just me, but our CEO, who's slightly older, and our CTO, who's slightly older than I am, and we kind of get the product, and we know how people these days communicate. And I feel like when I'm talking, as Evernote's voice, when I'm sharing information, and when I'm writing a blog post, or when we're doing anything, that I feel like I kind of know who I'm talking to and how they want to be communicated with. And that just makes it much easier to visualize compared to visualizing, a government security person.
I am actually really fascinated about how this is, how all of this discussion about, your role in the company is, in my mind, really is so much different than, marketing roles in the past, at least that I've held, or marketing roles that I kind of perceive to be more about, the budget. What's the budget? What's our return on investment? What's the campaign? And this level of engagement with your customers, your understanding of the product, and then I love this at the very end that you talked about how you view the product as something that's important to you. It's something that all of you, it sounds like, have a use for, and believe in the product on that level. I don't know that the role that you're filling is easy anyway, or that you're fulfilling. I mean, to be that on top of things, and to be able to be that in touch, with your customers, or with problems that are going on, or to be engaging so frequently, is not an easy thing. But to be able to do it, knowing that this is something that you believe in and something that you really have a vision for, certainly I think makes that, if not easier, a lot more fun.
Oh, absolutely, definitely, and it's across the management team here as well. So it's our CTO is on our forums constantly, at the same time as he's developing our product roadmap. So we as a company, and our CEO does the same thing. He just actually, a couple weeks back, he was on our blog answering 280 questions. So we had a live ask our CEO a question session, and for like 6 hours he was just pounding away at the keyboard, responding to every single question that was asked. We just want that. We want that connection. We think that's really, really important.
Well, I think Dane brings up a good point, and a question I have for you as a marketer. So if, your role is this non-traditional ambassador, customer service marketing, kind of just-in-time marketing, what do you measure? What do you look at for success? Like, what are your metrics that you say, oh, well, this is cool, beside your 3 millionth user? I mean, that's an obvious one, is number of users. But are there other things you look at that are important to you personally?
Well, so for a long time we weren't doing anything. For a long time we were just we knew that something like being on Facebook is important, being on Twitter is important for the reasons that I said, just because it's a good way to connect. Doing YouTube videos, having a podcast and Tumblr blog, and all these different things that we do, it just felt like these are things that we should be doing. we recently did a survey of our users and asking a number of different questions, but one of them was about whether or not they are a premium subscriber. And so Evernote is a freemium service, so it's free. It's great as a free product. 98% of our users are free. We encourage them to be free. 2% upgrade to premium. That's great. So of our 3 million users, around 2 or so percent are premium. We did the survey, and we asked our followers on Twitter and Facebook, are you premium? And 30% were. And so 30% of the people that follow us on Twitter and Facebook and other such things are premium compared to the 2% for the general population. So all of a sudden we had this out of nowhere. We said, wow, the social things that we are doing, there is an ROI here. We have the most engaged people, and it sort of makes sense when you think about it, that follow us on all of these different forms of social media that we participate in. They are more likely to be premium, and so we need to be feeding them, and we need to be driving people towards our social media channels.
And it's probably working both ways in the sense that the people who are going to be premium members are going to be that interested in following you, but people who are following you and are not premium members, may be encouraged to become so. So I'm sure it sort of hits on both sides to be
exactly.
To have that campaign, I don't know, as active as it is.
Yeah, and the more and so tracking, all of a sudden for us, we are definite believers in it's not about quantity of followers, say on Twitter, it's about quality of those followers, because we wouldn't have the same thing if we had paid to get Twitter followers. If we had 1 million Twitter followers and none of those people were engaged, that wouldn't be useful. We want to drive people that care about the product, that are then going to upgrade to premium, and they're then going to really, get the most value out of it.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I want to talk a little bit about the platforms because there's a certain tie-in, and you talk about this integration between marketing, communications, and engineering, and that's something that always fascinates me. How you drive communication between feature development and user demands when you have this, clearly a very vocal vested community, and the ones that are most vocal now we know are the ones who are paying. They're the ones who have that sort of case of entitlement, about, hey, I want my feature. My feature is the most important feature that you could possibly be working on. When are you going to release it? When are you going to release it? And here you are on the engineering side releasing clients for, is there any platform you guys don't cover?
We're everywhere. There I think at this point 9 native versions of Evernote for different platforms, and if you count our different browser support, then maybe it's like 13 or 14.
That's fantastic.
Wow.
How do you manage that relationship? I mean, obviously you have these CEO and CTO, check-ins, but how does how do you get that feedback from your community into engineering to really prioritize what has got to be an unending list of requests?
Well, it's the requests are unending, not only from external sources, but from internal sources as well, because we do all use Evernote.
Yeah, sure.
We have a huge list of things that we would love Evernote to do, ways that we wish Evernote was better, and it's completely amazing that given the size of this company that we've achieved what we've achieved. I mean, we're 37 or so people, almost 40 people, to have 9 to 14 platforms, depending on how you count it, is an amazing achievement. And it's because we have this amazing engineering team that we're able to do that. It's always a challenge. And I think that the feedback from users and how do you respond to them appropriately is probably one of the biggest difficulties of sort of modern companies, because everybody's got a voice. And what we strive to do is to make people aware of where we're headed. It's sort of I kind of look at my role here as a storyteller, and weaving story arcs where working closely with engineering, I know I see the future of the company, so I know where we're headed. and to really kind of build up that sense of to some degree, so that sense of mystery with our users, to allow them to know where we are today, get a sense of where we're headed, and then over the course of every few weeks and months, release something, put out a new story that builds towards an ultimate goal. Where I think that sort of approach to marketing as storytelling is actually a really useful way to keep people engaged, and also when they have their product requests and their ideas, they themselves actually understand. And if you go through our the comments on our blog, you kind of get a sense of this, that our users want things, but they kind of know we're going to give it to them. Because there's a clear path. Now, it's not the case for everything, but in a lot of cases, there are requests that they're making that are very much in line with where we're headed. And we know that we're going to get there. It's just going to take some time, just because it's that story arc. So we're getting to the end of the season on a particular product or a particular direction, and we feel like our users kind of feel that.
Yeah. What are your most popular platforms in terms of user base?
Well, the iPhone is incredibly popular. It's about 60% or so of our mobile on the mobile side. We were at the iPhone App Store at launch, and that was a huge bump. And we've always been sort of near the top on productivity within the App Store. Yeah. On the desktop, Windows is bigger, but you'd kind of expect that. They're fairly close, Windows and Mac. And Android is growing really quickly. And actually, we were surprised when we announced the 3 million user number. I was surprised to see how fast our iPad version has grown. So that's now at 9% of our mobile use.
Well, and you were launch day on the iPad store too, right?
Oh yeah. That was fun. That was fun to develop something without holding it.
You guys had that great. I just listened to one of your podcasts with the CEO and the CTO on the whole iPad development, and that was a great podcast. I really enjoyed hearing, that your CEO is a project manager, was the project manager of the iPad development team. Yeah. That's pretty cool. That's,
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Andrew.
I was just going to say that he is he worked directly with our designer and the developer to really build what if you look at the iPad version, for anyone that has used our iPad version, it is gorgeous. And not only is it gorgeous, but it really works really, really well. And we're excited to kind of bring a lot of those concepts into the other versions of Evernote.
I'm looking at it. It was the first or second app that I downloaded on launch day. As I'm ripping it out of the FedEx guy's hand, and it really is. I mean, you almost get a sense for that the service Evernote was designed for this device, or that this device was designed for the service of Evernote. It is that intuitive. I mean, it really is beautiful.
Well, when we think about it, we really think about Evernote as an extension of your body. It's your second brain. And the thing that makes the iPad so fantastic is that the whole touch interface. I mean, the iPhone is sort of there, but the iPad is so much more so visual, so tactile, that it really feels like when you're using Evernote on the iPad, it really feels like you're kind of flicking through memories in your head. It's fantastic.
It is a beautiful, beautiful piece of work. I can't believe it's been a half hour. We've been talking already. Can you believe that?
Really?
It has been.
It's flown.
I know, it's flown by. Andrew, where? So you run the @Evernote. Do you have a personal Twitter that you like people to follow you, or you pretty much just hang out at Evernote?
No, I have a personal one. It's @Sinkov. If people care to see what I'm cooking at any given moment, that's probably the place to look.
Do you, any other website you choose to pitch, or?
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of stuff at Evernote. So for Evernote stuff, we have Evernote on Twitter, Evernote on Facebook, YouTube is Evernote Andrew. We have a podcast, a Tumblr blog that's focused exclusively on how to use Evernote, evernote.tumblr.com. And soon, we're super psyched about this, meetups are coming. So we're going to have meetups.
Great. That's fantastic. That I think, and Dane, I think you talked a little bit about this. I mean, when I look at Evernote, when I'm working with clients on how businesses can engage communities, their user communities, Evernote in general is really at the top of my list of case companies that are doing it right. I think that that what Evernote has achieved really presents an example of how of best in class companies that can engage their users and create that real organic and symbiotic relationship between the products and the companies that serve those products. It is really terrific, and we're thrilled that you took the time to join us, Andrew, for the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
I hope as Evernote releases wonderful new things, which seems to be every 35 minutes, but I hope you will come back and talk to us again. This has been great.
I would love to. Thank you.
He was great. That was just, he's another one of those people that I feel like we could talk to all day long and just never run out of things to talk about. I mean, they just have done such a nice job. You sort of hit the nail on the head, Peter, when you said that they are sort of the gold standard as far as customer engagement. And they've just done such a nice job of giving people a forum and a platform to both A, learn how to use their product, and B, share, their sort of creative, funky ideas of how they're using it. And it's just kind of a perfect storm of the tool and the platforms and the community. I mean, and they're so humble. That's one of the things that struck me about Andrew when I first heard him speak. He's so humble, and the tone they take is just, we're so honored to have you as our customer. Thank you so much for your ideas. We listen to everything you say, and we try to implement as much as we can. I mean, they're very much user-driven, and they just have this great sort of authentic humility about them that, even though they have 3 million users and are uber successful, they're not like, well, we're not going to do that because we think it's a bad idea.
That's a funny cultural statement, right? I mean, it seems like a lot of that comes around that the fact that these guys, come out of that startup culture and they really love the product.
Yeah.
So much of the risk of losing that touch is because, your job is a marketer, and you get the feel from talking to Andrew and particularly listening to their podcast. If you're interested in Evernote or interested in how companies communicate their mission, listen to the Evernote podcast. It is Phil Libin and Dave Enberg and Andrew talking about the product and how they use it. It's very funny. It's very casual and congenial and transparent. You can tell that these guys love the product, and it's a hair club for men experience. They love it so much that they decided to run the company.
Oh, that is a really weird analogy you just used.
I use it all the time.
What do you think, Dane? Dane?
He's not even here.
I was there. You know what? There's so many things that I've been saying over the last couple of minutes that never heard. I've been like, yes.
Are you on mute?
Andrew, you're awesome. I was on mute. I have allergies today, and I'm like sniffing into the microphone. I'm like, no, I better put that on mute, but don't forget that it's on mute. So I've said some brilliant things. Do
you want to say them again right now, and I'll just cut them back in?
No, I can't remember. I'm just embarrassed because I swear I was just being all congenial and saying goodbye to Andrew, and he probably just thought, yeah, well, he's probably in the bathroom again.
Yeah.
Did that right before the show. Maybe there's a problem of some sort. Okay. Here's what I was going to say that I think has value.
Say it.
That I don't think you'll have to edit out.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I think that this company is a case study on a lot of levels. And certainly when you look at the marketing and the role of the marketing, I guess the VP of marketing at a company like this, it's either the way it's evolving, or it's so true of companies just like it, or it's I don't know. I mean, because we've talked to a few people actually that kind of have that role. I think Dave with Hootsuite was pretty similar, where it's not so much again about managing the budget and and plotting campaigns, but it's so much more about engaging with their audience. So that's huge, and it's very interesting to me, just because that's that whole area of what is marketing and what do marketing directors do, and to me is interesting. But as the company exists, I mean, some of the things that they're doing, I'm really stuck on this idea that of all their users. So for an otherwise free product, they do have a premium version, and 2% of their users subscribe to the premium version. But what was it? 30% of the people who engage with them socially, and that's the thing that's so interesting, because over the last couple of years, this is sort of the new marketing approach, I guess, if you want to call it a marketing approach, but for companies to offer a free product, or it's all. I mean, there's the accessibility for a lot of software or websites or a lot of technology platforms is free unless you want the premium version, and you see examples of it working well and it not working well. And this was a great little insight, and I don't think it was illogical. I mean, it was probably something you could assume, but these are all easier, I think, to assume than to actually execute or to make happen or to really take care of. The notion of engaging with your customers, again, easier said than done. That's a full-time job and then some. That's a whole lot of work to be that engaged.
But you just hit it, right? It's a different kind of work. And I think that's the thread that is sort of being painted here, that, there is a new definition of marketing communications inside of organizations that is bubbling up from this startup culture. And I think that's what, traditional marketers are sort of starting to try to wrap their head around. How does this game change when traditional advertising is trusted less, when there are demands for increased engagement, there are demands for, all sorts of things. When Evernote and Hootsuite are setting the tone for how companies engage with their users, that forces other companies, like traditional marketing companies like Ford, to address their audience in a different way, and I think that's what we're seeing is a direct result of what they're doing.
Yeah, if they're paying attention. I honestly like some of the guests that we've had over the past few weeks, giving me a little insight into the nature of these new startups, and I'm, it's, well, I don't know, I'm easily caught into thinking, okay, how does that compare to, the sort of the initial technology revolution, where it really was, $20 million of venture capital, and let's put 25 million of that into our television campaign.
Right.
And a marketing person, for venture capital startups like that, I guess, was still just, oh, well, how much money can we spend and where can we spend it? And really, everyone that we've talked to with these sort of these new level startups it's not about how much money are we spending, and it's everything is done a little differently, but a lot more carefully, I think, a lot closer to their customer and understanding their customer and helping their customer along. And then these guys, I mean, it really is so cool to go to that website and see them, whether it's a user like the dairy farmer or it's someone from the company saying, well, here's a way you can use Evernote. And it really, like, the light bulb goes off when you see a couple of those that relate to you, like, oh, wow, how could I live without it?
But I thought it was interesting, too, that, and this goes back to my philosophy that people don't read. Sometimes people don't think either. So the after all that cooking, and the baker came on and was like, well, how do I use it for baking?
For baking, that's awesome.
Yeah. Please help me. I can't figure it out.
Yeah. So I think that's, I don't know, maybe that's the exception or maybe that's the rule. I'm not sure. But yeah, I thought that was interesting to have him be, get all this creative, great stuff from his customers, and then have somebody be like, well, how does this relate to me?
Yeah.
Well, hey, let's see if they did have a lot of startup money, they could hire Wolfgang Puck to do that.
Right.
I mean, think of all the things they could do if it made sense financially. Really, you could have 100 like specialists trying to figure out how to use Evernote for certain things.
Well, that's why their user community is so great, because they have
exactly. That's free. The world we live in. I really, it is fascinating to me, you guys, to sort of watch how this is evolving. It really is interesting.
Yeah, I think that's very cool.
It's so interesting that we should stop talking about it. Right
yeah,
now.
We should. I know, but it's it's compelling.
So I know it is. Let's talk about tools.
Oh my God, my tool just seems so lame compared to Evernote.
Can we call this something other than tools? Because this is where I have the hardest time.
Do we have to talk about this every week, Dane? Your problem with tools?
It's so hard.
What's the opposite of tools?
Rename it.
What is the opposite of tools?
I'm sorry. Tools is fun. Tell us about your weak limp tool, whatever it was. What were you saying, Megan?
I'm going to mute myself now.
Tools is fine. I love it.
Dane, nobody cares if we rename it. You're the only one who wants to rename it. So come up with a better name.
I don't. No, I wish I had more self-control. Sorry.
Oh, you're so funny.
Okay,
so here's my tool.
Your tool is so what?
This is going to be this new section is called Megan's Corner.
Megan's Corner.
It's a new segment. It's called Meg's Corner.
But I have a teeny little tool, the Bitly customizer. So essentially, it's just a URL shortener that you can customize. So the Bitly, if you go to Bitly, and we'll post it on the show notes, you enter in a Gigantor link, and you can shorten it. So it's a Bitly / and then whatever you want it to be.
And that's bit.ly for anybody who hasn't used Bitly.
Sorry, and we'll put it on show notes. Yeah. So and then you can put. I did one yesterday on the Dawn dish detergent campaign to rescue oil slicked birds, and mine was called bit.ly / Dawn Ducks. So it's just kind of cute. I like it in Twitter, and I saw somebody else do it, and I thought, how'd they do that? And so that's just a little teeny tool.
You were smart enough to do the research and figure it out.
No, actually,
because I do like it, and I didn't know. I've honestly, I didn't know about this, and you'd think I mean, Pete, I guess when we brought it up earlier, was like, yeah, no, you guys don't know about that. I didn't, and I think it's a great tool.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
So I think it's a great tool too.
It's like micro branding.
It is. There you go. I like that micro brand.
Yes, it is. It's awesome, and I applaud you both for liking it as much as you do.
All right, moving on. The other tool in Megan's Corner today that I would like to share is because I'm a project manager, and I know Peter does a lot of project management stuff as well, and most marketers, truth be told, do a lot of project management, even though they may not call it that, is a project management tool that is free called OpenProj. That's OPENPROJ.org. And it is a free tool. It is an application you download, and it's not a web-based tool, but it is just super easy to use. It has all the geeky project management tools as well, but it has this, just kind of a great feature where you enter tasks into a Gantt chart and you can timeline them, and it's just very visual, and it's cool. So anyway, that's my tool. That's my other tool that I wanted to share.
Both are outstanding tools. And Dane, I think you should really try that OpenProj, because you're such a data guy. It is like full of lines and colorful things.
It is. It's pretty. It's pretty and geeky. It's a little geeky.
I like pretty.
Yeah.
It's pretty and a little geeky.
And free.
Good. And free. So what's a better combo than that?
There's nothing better than that.
There are a few, but not a lot.
No. Wow.
This is a tool that I used to use in a past life, and I only just recently rediscovered it. It's Google News. They have done some really cool updates to the Google News site. If you are an avid Google Reader fan, switch over to news.google.com and click on the Add a Section, because now you can create your own customized newspaper. Get out of that whole who needs sports and news and world news when you can have all the news customized to your own keywords. And it's live updating, very fast, very fresh. Add all of your clients, add all of your competitors, add all of the famous pop stars that you want to follow day in and day out, and you'll get a customized news page just for you.
Or you could just have a Yahoo homepage.
Or you could just go to Yahoo and stare at it because you don't know what to do with it.
Can you make the background pink on news?
Unfortunately, no, because remember, it's Google, and they're more Spartan.
Oh, yeah.
But do you guys think that someday, like, there'll be a serial killer, that they'll hunt the guy down and they'll find him and they'll be like, wow, one of the pieces of evidence was his Google News page. He really was into just freaky news. He had customized his news to be nothing but freakiness.
Like it used to be all those people that would just pin up creepy things all over their wall. Now it's just all over their Google News.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think that probably already is happening.
Maybe we should take this back. This is no longer a good tool to use if you want to withstand incriminating evidence.
That's right.
Later.
But for the rest of the world, it's fabulous.
If you are a serial killer, you don't want to use Google News, because this may be how they track you down later.
Or if you like to live in a silo of news that is only news you think is true.
That's true.
I mean, if you don't want to be exposed to alternative opinions of any kind, I guess you could set this up to do that.
This has gone on far too long, everybody.
On that note,
and we're going to go ahead now and apologize for all of the wasted time that we just subjected you to. Everything after that awesome Evernote interview to now, we would love to take back. It's too late, so we're just going to move forward on to next week. Dane, let's assume people would want to find out more about you. Where would they go?
You know what would be cool is if I had my own newspaper and they could just set me up as a Google News feed.
I'm going to do that this afternoon. I hope I can submit it to some sort of gallery.
Yeah, and just submit any weird rantings to the proper authorities.
That's right.
Keep the police aware. Okay. If you are into the Twitter, then Alta Dane is where you would find me. If you use the interweb, then I am at strike10media.com.
Fantastic. And Megan?
I'm sorry. Dane just cracks me up. I am at Megan Strand on Twitter. And Encouraged is my blog and website, and that is INCOURAGED.
And I am at Pete Wright on the Twitter, and at fifthandmain.com is the website. Now, as for the show, you can find out all about us at thenakedmarketers.com. Links to us on Facebook, links to us on the show on Twitter. Naked Markets on Twitter is where you can follow us to get all the updates from the show. And we try to get the show up every Thursday. So make sure, this is the most important part. Go to iTunes and subscribe to the show there. That's the easiest way to get the show every single week and listen to all the back episodes of nonsense that we have created.
And that's how we measure our ROI.
It is. If we were into that, that's how we would do it.
Are you eating chips, Dane?
Yeah, this is my tool. Corn Nuts Chips.
Oh.
They're brand new. You guys heard of these? They're like crunchy corn nut turned into chips.
We've turned into a chip eating fest for Dane.
This is not. This is moving in the wrong direction. So I'm going to go ahead and say, on behalf of Dane Christensen and Megan Strand, I'm Pete Wright, and this has been another exhilarating, illuminating episode of The Naked Marketers.